Gotta play to win every day. Never knock a grind or hustle. Quarterback calls in the huddle. We not blood, but he know he my brother. He go, I go, word to my mother. You know that I live by the way.
All right, welcome back to You're Not Gonna Like This. This is episode 26, Segmentation of Minorities. And joining us today is our return host, Jordan. He was with us for episode 2. And then one of his very first few recorded episodes, our new host, Malcolm here. So, bottom line for this episode, guys, we're talking about the segmentation of minorities. With that being said, it's basically because what I have noticed what I've noticed over the last couple of months, especially over the years since the George Floyd incident, is a lot of separation going on depending on like what is the best response to all of the discrimination we have faced and most minorities have faced over the course of the American history, especially in the modern history, being that most people can talk about a time where their grandparents faced some sort of racism or anything like that. Being people love to say it's a long, long, long time ago, but it's really like 50, 60 years ago. And I got uncles that are 60 years old. So it's really not that long ago, as much people try to make it seem like that. But the problem with that is, even though a lot of minorities go through the same plight, obviously in different ways, some more than others, we tend to always bicker with one another about who should get be saved, or get the advocacy first, and that's not the best way to go about it. So we're gonna definitely hit on that. We're gonna go ahead and get right into it. So, first things first is intersectionality. So intersectionality is a division. It's really a division of sections in between. Like, so let's say we are a group of minorities. Now, then the intersectionality would be you have the Asians, you have Hispanic people, then you have Black people. Okay. But even though we're all sectionalized like we are by race, of course, and like I said earlier, that we face the same kind of discrimination in different forms and variations, why are we still just fighting within those sections instead of combining and trying to, fight or make a better difference? Because all of us are getting hit with the same shit, honestly, just with a just different way. So that's kind of definition of it. Good little real life example for it. And I want Jordan or Malcolm, whoever chooses to go first, to explain what does intersectionality mean to you.
You can go first, Malcolm.
Intersectionality, the way that I think about it, I think your definition was very thorough. But intersectionality means to me, I put it on a personal level. Let's say we're thinking about, I guess the best way I can give you the definition is to use it as an example, intersectionality. We think about a woman, that's already, let's say for the sake of purposes, one stripe. Let's say she is Muslim. That's another in the eyes of America, in quotation marks. Let's say she identifies as a lesbian. That's another one. I think intersectionality comes from what do you identify it as, and not necessarily as a self-identification. What does the public perceive you as? You see what I'm saying? Like, let's say there's a Cuban boy who's very, darker than all of us, yet he speaks Spanish. But people who, if he doesn't open his mouth to anybody, everybody thinks he's a brother, Black. So I think intersectionality comes from how many, in this case, for the public, for the purposes of what we're speaking on, intersectionality comes from how many things that are, I'm not going to say non-conformist, non-white. How many things do you identify as personally that put the focal point on you? I don't know if that was a good definition or not, but I guess I could say it better than I could tell you. I could say it better than I could show you.
That's a good definition, I think. I'll just add on to both of y'all. I like the point that you made of having different categories included within your own identity. And then the Irish point, like just to add on to the part of the stick, we all get hit with the same shit stick, so to speak, from the American government, quote unquote. Yeah. So it's like we just getting hit with different pieces of it. So for intersectionality, to me, as a Black man, or just as a Black person, is covering all the different aspects of your identity. So when people talk about like discrimination or other forms of what's the word I'm looking for? Of oppression or something like that, you got to remember that people have multiple identities within themselves.
Exactly.
So as a Black man, if I was Muslim, then that's another strike, as you said, Malcolm. Or if there was a Black woman and she was gay, trans, or she was something else, that's another strike on them. So it's like the intersectionality, you got to recognize that when we're interacting with other minorities, people have different levels of oppression because they have multiple identities within that. So that's what intersectionality means for me.
Yeah.
Definitely, I couldn't agree with more. Both of y'all, Michael really brought a great point. At first, I didn't understand what he meant, but Jordan definitely cleared it up with the self-identification and all the identities that you can have upon yourself, being that, like he said, that, you know, women are already viewed in a certain light, and then those are part of the LGBTQ community are part of a certain light, and obviously those that have different religions besides the Christianity religion in America are viewed in different lights as well, more times than not. But the main thing is first on the point of intersectionality, I like to get into code. George is very familiar with this topic, being that he did an episode on it about a couple months ago, I'd say. And in that episode was really like how people within their own minorities break things up because they don't think we understand it. Like, for instance, obviously in the Black community, we got, you got guys from the low income areas, most call it the hood, and then, people from the Bel Air, like, with Will Smith and stuff like that, when, you move places and you change areas and stuff like that. And a lot of times, like, and I hate to use TV as a prime example, but everybody knows the Will Smith episode when he came back from Bel Air to Philly. Bro was catching a lot of resentment because he was like, oh, now you fancy now you too good to come back from Philly. When that was never the case at all. So it's the same thing here. Like, I'm not from the hood at all, but, Farmville, Malcolm from Farmville, we all know about Virginia Street. Virginia Street is a rough spot in Farmville. Nobody likes to just walk through VA Street like that. It's not for the light, not people, you don't want to walk through there. A lot of times, if you don't know somebody, it's not a place you really want to be. But bottom line is, like, why are we always just like switching up the code? Like they think because, you live in you have a well-income life that you want to understand the plight of others. Now, some people do live that life. They try to ignore the plight of others. But more times than not, if you take, like, the biggest fallacy in all of this is education. People are not educated to know what is going on. If you tell somebody that somebody's struggling to make ends meet in these low-income areas, if they have a heart and, are a decent human being, they'll definitely understand, like, okay, bro experiences this. I understand what he means now. Like, like, education is a huge factor in all of this. And when you change your code because you don't feel like somebody, it doesn't help to, let's say we all wanted to, with the Black Lives Matter, with the Black Lives Matter situation, like, everybody is trying to fight for different things and all something, but nobody has a common idea of what they want to fight for. And when you got all people trying to switch codes, like, okay, he don't understand this, and then he don't understand that. It's like, you got to come together if you want to fight for a common cause. You can't just fight amongst one another to try to accomplish a common goal.
It's interesting you say that, TJ. And I guess I can go ahead with the question you proposed to the group. I think I don't know, I can't say for all Black people, but I know we do share a similar history. Black Americans in this country brought here across from Africa, from the Atlantic. I think slavery taught us how to survive and not to how to live. So code switching, in my mind, is a survival tactic. You can't be your authentic self in the corporate white America or something like that. You could say, yes, I'm always going to be the same, but we all deep down know what we have to do in order to do that. Now, some people could say, I don't give a damn, and never enter that world. That's fine. But code switching is merely a tactic that we use, play the game, do the dance. And that's, maybe we'll have to do that. And I guess I can see maybe when I'm dead and gone, maybe it'll be more open, maybe it'll be more accepting, but we got to understand history, Eurocentric. It's been Eurocentric since the beginning. It's been, the beauty standard has been Eurocentric. History has been taught from a Eurocentric perspective. Everything has been Eurocentric. And us as Black people, I can only speak to Black people. we are the furthest removed from the European race. And then we can talk about the model minority with Asians. I know you said something about a common goal. And I think all in all, an example, like I said, it's no oppression Olympics when we talk about Hispanics, Black, Asians. But I do think there are levels to this. So for example, what do you mean, Malcolm? A great question. When Joe Biden's first day, and I have my own likes and dislikes about President Biden, but I noticed one of the first things he did, this is when, Stop Asian Hate. And Michael J. White touched on this beautifully. I have not heard one single person say, stop all hate. But when Black Lives Matter was first coming out and Colin Kaepernick was kneeling on the field, all lives matter, blue lives matter. Why do people hate Black people so much, subconsciously or consciously? So that I know we all have the same goal. We all get the shitty end of the stick. But I mean, we get the one that is right and full, in my opinion. So I'll come at it a different angle a little bit later, but I want to hear what you and what Jordan got to say on that.
That's definitely a fact. I agree on them. To answer our question, and actually, I really liked your point about code switching being like a survival tactic. Yeah. I say that it had, like, when we're using it when interacting with other minorities or interacting with white people, I think that it's definitely a survival tactic, because it's like, if we talk in our natural language, Ebonics, AAV, whatever you want to say, they're going to look at us a certain way, like, what kind of guy are you? And it's like, all right, well, I make every attempt when I'm in professional settings to try and stay as straight and narrow to who I am as possible, because it's like, the more you code switch, the more you lose your culture, I think, as Black people. So it's like, I try to stay, they don't, whenever you're in a professional setting, you don't never see them ask them country white boys, why your accent so thick? Why are you slurring so much? They don't never ask them that. But let me go in there and talk how I'm talking right now. They look at me type crazy. So I'm like, all right. So I'm gonna find a medium. It's like you talking to your parent versus your friends. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's still gonna be me, but I ain't going to give them too much flavor, just enough. Now, to Ira's question, within code switching within the community, I think that goes on to like a problem with representation within the community. So it's like, I did an episode on this a while back on Black gatekeeping. So it's like, in higher academia, you got those people that like to talk real proper, real white, they're really real close to white proximity and white power and all that stuff. So it's like, they want to integrate. You got those people trying to represent us, and they real bougie and all that stuff. And then you got the people that are in the community still back home and all that. We have a problem right there, because it's like, well, do I want the academics to, the scholars to represent us as a community? Do they have our best interests? Or do I want the entertainers, the rich people to represent us? Do they have our best interests? Or do I want somebody in the community to represent us? There is no real answer, because it's like, Black people are so diverse within our community. So it's like, we code switch between ourselves when we're talking to each other, because it's like, we're trying to find that medium in representation. So I think that's the problem right there. Sooner we can find out how we want to be represented as a community, the less we'll have to code switch between each other. If everybody will go back home and stop acting like they're too good to go back to the hood, go back to the trenches, problem solved for me. And then the people, it goes to your point about education, the lower income folk, the people back home in the community, in the city, they got to have a desire to want to learn stuff. They can't just keep and retain them same values that we grew up with. There has to be a desire to learn and do better for your community, because the same narrow thinking will keep reinforcing the same stereotypes and same generational curses that we've been enduring for all this time. We got to educate ourselves, and we got to elevate ourselves. So that's that.
Question for you, Jordan, and elegantly said. And I promise I have a point to this. E. Franklin Frazier, sociologist at Howard University. I remember doing my master's degree and everything. His name got brought up. And what his thesis was, that when Black people were brought from the coast of West Africa, Black Americans. Mm-hmm. Are you a Black American?
Mm-hmm.
African American. Okay. When our ancestors were brought from Africa to this country, we were stripped of everything. We totally assimilated, you know, as far as we lost our indigenous language. Of course, if we look at every Black person in America, we probably have some form of white lineage from obvious reasons. And he said, there's no such thing as Black culture. And he said, just look at us. We are, and his big main point was, we are white people with brown skin, but we'll never be accepted because of our genetic links to the continent of Africa. My question to you, and I hope it deals with this. I think we're just going to go in, and I don't think it's an in circles kind of question, but do you believe in Black African American culture?
Absolutely. Okay. Like, I ain't gonna say whatever he's saying has no grounds, but it's like, you see African American culture everywhere in America right now. It's like, we have our own thing. We are Africans, definitely. Like, we're Africans first. But in addition to that, there go that intersectionality. We're African Americans, so we have our own culture here. And as Black Americans, African descendants of slaves in America. Like, you go to the Caribbeans, they have their own culture as well.
There we go. Gotcha. Okay.
A question for you, Jordan, again. I know he's making a point about education and having a desire to learn, but I want to ask this. So how can you have the desire if the opportunity never presents itself? If you got to sit here and say, I got bills to pay, I got ends to meet, you can't get that library card. You can't get that. Or you can't, let's say Rosetta Stone, you want to learn another language. You can't afford that $35 a month. So like, how, even let's say, because I know people that have the desire to want to learn, but
it's a resource.
You gotta live day-to-day life first.
Those guys get paid, and that's why I think it's our job, as educated Black folk, to go back home and do our part. Like, the degree that you get, like, if you end up going to higher education, getting a degree, getting a master's degree, whatever, so on and so forth, it can't stop there. Your degree can't just get you a job. Like, you got that education, go and use that, go and teach some other people. So it's like, that's the whole point of my show originally when I started making them YouTube clips. It's like, I'm gonna use what I know. I'm gonna bring some people on there that know some other stuff, and we're gonna give game for free. It's like, knowledge is never meant to be hoarded. It's meant to be shared. So it's like, whenever I go back home, I make it a point to tell somebody something that they might not have known before. So like, as a criminologist, I teach people about the law all the time. I talk to my father. I talk to my cousins, my uncles, all that.
Same for me. Like, once I get my degree, I've always wanted to open a gym back home because, seeing all these gyms and all these trainers and all these great things here in Fairfax is like, what could kids be with? So what I was saying was that, like, I want to open a gym back home because seeing all the trainers and all the gyms, the opportunity to be a great athlete is not in Farmville. Malcolm knows this. I don't know not one personal trainer in Farmville besides Trey and the new ones that have just went there like 2-3 years ago. But growing up, no trainer. You had to get out the mud. Like, you talking about like going to DMV. If you ain't got the hoop outside, you ain't going to the NBA. You can't. Indoor gyms, please. Ain't no indoor gyms out there. It's nothing. It's nothing for like a kid. Even like I have cousins and stuff like that to have an opportunity to go like, okay, if I want to go lift weights, it's insane. Like, people profit off the gym industry. Like, the YMCA, for example, is $45 a month. Hampton City gyms are $40. Long was a little more affordable for those, but still, it's like, when you have a gym that's in for profit, and obviously you're gonna have to charge at some point because you got to get good equipment for people. You can't just run free 99 because then the equipment is gonna be just as bad as if they didn't have any at all. But like, when you have people that's in the game for more of the money than the actual individual, nothing comes from it. Like, there's very people I know that actually go to the Y in Farmville committingly. Like, just go to the Y. No, very small number of people, bro. People would rather work out by themselves and go to the Y, because the Y is not a personal. It doesn't make you feel comfortable to work out. You don't feel that personal feel like, I can go to the gym and just work out. Everybody doing their own thing, and nobody cares what you're doing at the gym, of course. But bottom line is, like, if you got somebody that want to lose weight, going to the gym is already hard enough as it is. But if you ain't got nobody in your ear to say, bro, you got this, you can do this, you can hit that shot, you can run that mile, you can lose that 5 pounds, then what? You gonna stop. You just not gonna want to do it anymore because working out is difficult. Let's be honest here. Like nobody want to put their body through pain, and that's what working out technically is, honestly. But stuff like that, like just wanting to open a gym back home is definitely something I want to do because it's a lot of people, especially in Malcolm's graduating class and a couple of mine before mine and a couple of mine in mine actually, that if they had the proper exposure, because I was just watching the I Am Athlete podcast, and the proper resources and proper opportunity, man, look, so a couple Farmville NBA players, NFL players out there, trust and believe. I know that. One that I know off the top of my head is TJ from Cumberland. Bro, like 6'8" offensive lineman. He's huge. Can't miss him. He went to VTech. I don't know what year he's in, but stuff like that, just having a proper opportunity. He went to Spark Combine, stuff like that, just to get noticed. And when you had a proper opportunity, he went to VTech for school. Stuff like that is amazing. But let's go ahead and move on to the next point within intersectionality. Fitting in. Fitting in is, I believe, very, very, very important, because a lot of people try to force themselves to fit into a certain community when it's not required, when you should just be welcome no matter how you are. And this can obviously be presented in a multitude of ways, as most people know, with obviously for us being in the Black community, you can't just jump into a group. You gotta do the waiting out, the feeling out process and things like that. So it's a lot, but basically, I just want to talk about and discussing fitting in.
What you say, Ira?
I said basically, I just want to discuss fitting in. Like, what does it take? How can we make people more comfortable in like certain groups and areas and stuff like that, and not have to go through this verification process about, are you for the people? Are you for this and that? Where everybody can be welcome and have that great atmosphere.
I would say Black people are the most welcoming of any racial group, and this, of course, I'm biased, but I think we are. Might be our history, might be mind state. I'm not sure, but I think generally speaking, we are the most welcoming. We welcome even whites, Hispanic, and it doesn't even have to be different socioeconomic status, different racial groups, different ethnicities, whether they be Haitian, whether it be Dominican, white, Japanese, Chinese. We welcome them into the fold with open arms. And I'm not sure. I mean, that could be self-aggrandizement. That could be, I don't know what it could be from, but I think we're the most welcoming. I think other groups, and like I said, I'm biased and I only speak from one perspective that I've lived my whole life, but from the outside looking in, I could see, when I went down to Carolina for the master's degree and everything, there's a lot of Asians in the research triangle, and most of them Chinese and Japanese, not just calling it what it is. And beyond basketball, that's all they would want to talk to me about. LeBron, Kobe, this is when Kobe was still alive and everything. But besides that, nothing else. So I think and this is, and maybe this comes from and this is just something I've been thinking about a lot lately. I think, I was talking to a white guy the other day about it. I believe that white people mostly, and a lot of minorities closer to white than us, see us as the entertainers of the world. But as far as being contributing members of society and intellectual minds, no. So they love to see LeBron dunk that basketball. They love to see Ezekiel Elliott run that ball. But as far as intellectual giants, as far as contributing to society and the betterment of humanity, So I think we see people, I say we, and I'm using that loosely, of course, but we see, welcome into the fold. We can learn from you as Black people. I think we let a lot of people in, whether that they identify as LGBTQIA+ or whatever the case may be, disabled, it doesn't matter. I think we have open arms. You can come, they welcome to the cookout. The only people we say are people who are overtly racist against Black people, but everybody else can come to the cookout and have a plate, come to the barbecue and have a plate. But I would say it's not us who's the problem. And I'm not trying to sit here and make it point fingers at anything, but I don't know if y'all agree with me. I don't know if you've had the same experience as me, but I've been watching for a while now as far as fitting in goes.
Yeah, I'm already, all right, let me touch on that. I agree and I disagree, kind of. Not to everything. The only part I disagree is that everybody invited to the cookout. That's how it is in certain places, but it's like, I feel like you can't let everybody come to the cookout because then they start taking place and shit back home. And then that's where we get a lot of these other issues. Go ahead, Mom.
I agree with you. We shouldn't let everybody come to the cookout. And I'm going to let you finish right after. I think that people outside of our race can do the bare minimum. They can do the new little dance. They can, they can do the new little dance and they already invited. We're just so quick to say, come on in, come on in. That's our problem. Please continue, because you said exactly what I was thinking.
Absolutely. It's like, we welcome everybody. Like, yeah, y'all can be visitors. You can come every once in a while, but it's like, once you start taking more than you bring in, that's where we start seeing a problem. Now, to your point, Ira, about like just getting along with everybody and whatnot, is like, I think probably one of the number one thing within like Black men, that issue is when you go to like other towns and it becomes territorial and like everybody got put on their tough guy act. It's like, we gotta move that. We gotta over that. You don't gotta be tough around me, brother. Like, we the same. Like, look, I might not be from here, but I'm from another here. You know what I'm saying? It's like one trench to another trench, one hood to another hood. It's the same struggle. No reason for you to come violate me because I ain't violating you. I'm just passing by. No problems. As soon as we stop acting tough, look, we need to recognize we stronger as a community. We have a better chance of escaping all this generational trauma from slavery and Jim Crow and all that stuff, the sooner we stop acting tough and start loving the community. You know what I'm saying? So that's probably my biggest issue with getting along. But to your point with just Black people as a whole, yeah, we probably one of the most friendly minorities in America. Like, you see an elderly Black woman down the street, she'd be the first one, hey baby, you know what I'm saying? To anybody. Don't even know you.
That's true. That's true. You do get the grandma, the older Black women, the grandmas always speaking hey to you. You ain't even did anything. But the question I do want to ask is, I did a TikTok response to Stitch the other day, and I was doing a Stitch over. It was about it was a white woman that got accepted into the AKA fraternity at an HBCU, and a lot of people had a problem with that. They was like, see, this is the type of stuff, this is the type of things we got going on, and we can't have this. And while I do understand that is like, okay, we've worked hard to have our own cultural things and things like that, but the question will remain is like, I said this, I was like, we get mad when we are excluded from a lot of things, seat at the table when it comes to politics or anything of very, very extreme importance. We always get excluded. We always overlooked for these things. But if we do this, I know fraternities and, that's a very, very minor thing when I'm trying to compare it to, of course.
Right.
But if we exclude and they exclude, wouldn't that just be just as bad? Or maybe I'm just off there. Okay, everybody. All right, so we've had some technical difficulties, So, PJ is now here. We got his situation situated. And okay, don't know what that was, but anyways, we're back. We're talking about fitting in, just to catch everybody up. If you're just joining, we're on intersectionality, being divided within your community. And Malcolm made a great point about how these divisions can increase if we have a lot of self-identifications with things that don't identify as universal in America. For those that don't know what that may be, obviously the LGBTQ community, and if you're any religion but the Christianity religion, maybe Muslim, or what other religions there are that are popularized here. But Muslim's the only one I know, so I want to speak out of turn on that. We went over code switching really quickly. Code switching, for all that don't know, is when you're changing the code up for those within your own community. And Jordan said if, you know, for the Black men out there, if they, you know, don't always have their guard on 10 and have their guard on like 6 or 5 sometimes, you know, everything would be a lot more easier to have conversations with. And we made a good point about having, you know, the desire for education and things like that and resources. So, you know, if you have any opinions, any, you know, questions for that, you know, always comment below. We definitely would like to hear your opinion. But let's take it back to the conversation. We were talking about fitting in, and I came up with a great point about how I did a TikTok the other day. And we talked about inviting to the cookout, and how everybody shouldn't be invited to the cookout. But which cookout are we referring to here? Because there are a lot of cookouts in the Black community, as we know. So which cookout are we referring to? Because the TikTok I had stitched was a white woman that got accepted into a HBCU and was in the AKA fraternity. So she is all the way in the cookout. Like she part of the family. She damn part of the family now, basically. So like, so like my question was to them, like, a lot of times Black people are excluded from a lot of things, a lot of higher ups, sometimes even lower ups, wherever it may be. And I see sometimes that we start to exclude others from certain things, whatever that may be. Everybody has their own exclusion standards.
Yeah.
If we're excluding and they're excluding, why is there like so much uprise? Because, you know, personally for me, I'm gonna take the Morgan Freeman approach with the Black History Month. We said about the Black History Month. I don't want all Black history compiled in 1 month. It's not enough. That's 28 days, and of course, it's the shortest month of the year on top of that. So that's just a double. That's a double L. I don't want all Black history compiled into a month. Same way as I love an HBCU university. You know, I got friends that go there. I got graduates that go there. I know people that go to HBCUs, and you know, nothing against HBCUs, but I don't know if I'm taking the Channing route. When he said on I Am Athlete podcast, he had said that, you know, if you want to go to a Power 5, you want to go to a Power 5 and things like that based on all of that. But the thing is, if we're excluding and we're trying to keep people out of our own things, and then they exclude us from their own things, how would intersectionality go away? If y'all trying to get, that was a lot though.
All right. Shit. A good question. I'll start with one piece first. So I do believe 2 things. One, white people should not want to go to HBCUs or be in Black space. Like, they should not want to go to HBCUs or be in Black sororities and fraternities. They should not want to. I'm okay with them going to it. They can go to it. That's fine. For that video specifically, and I made one too, I ain't like the way she was diminishing a Black woman's perspective and her experience because she didn't go to an HBCU or she wasn't a part of Black Greek life. That was wrong. And she doesn't have she don't got the authority to speak on that as a white person. You know what I'm saying? So like, that's my only problem with that video. They can be there. Like, to the original point of her being in Black spaces and colonizing it, it's 2021. I'm all right with it. They shouldn't want to, but I'm okay with it. Now, to your point about intersectionality, I don't think we want to, I think like we couldn't confuse on that. Like, we shouldn't want to eliminate intersectionality, but to understand it better. Okay. Like, I think you're thinking of marginalization or like how, like the minority or majority interaction, that thing. We want to get rid of that. Like, everybody should be treated the same, equality, equity, all those things. But when it comes to the different identities within the community and who's invited to the cookout, I think some of that is good for certain communities and it should be respected. I'm all over the place, so I'm gonna let somebody else talk, but I just had to get that out there.
So, all right. So what's the main question that you're asking?
The main question is intersectionality good, bad, should it exist?
And this is based off of the white girl in the HBCU.
Yeah, that was a scenario I presented, being that she was a white woman in an HBCU and in a Black fraternity. So she basically just, you know, crossed all the division lines and is now basically part of the family, if the family, if you will, being
I mean,
that.
I think it's a good concept. I mean, the whole white girl HBCU black sorority. I mean, that's like George said, she shouldn't really want to be in that setting. I mean, I feel like the main thing about being part of HBCU and being in those Black Greek life sororities and fraternities are like the fact that you are Black, you go through the same struggles, you go through the same hardships, this, that, and the third, you can relate to each other, and then she just didn't do that. But in terms of the intersectionality as a whole, in terms of when it comes to society in general, I mean, we should always push for groups to be together rather than divided. That's what we strive for. Ending the divide in certain groups, but that's just not how the world works. But I mean, I think in concept it's a good concept, but like George said, that girl specifically shouldn't have wanted to be in that setting based off the fact that she isn't Black and she doesn't go through the same things that we go through. She doesn't go through those harsher struggles, and she just simply can't relate to those people that she's in that sorority with. But yeah, like I said, intersectionality, in my opinion, the concept of it seems to be pretty good. But yeah, I feel like I'm all over the place too. But I'll let Malcolm speak.
It was a broad question. It was pretty.
Yeah. Damn. I mean, y'all pretty much said what I want to say. I guess to be the devil's advocate. I guess this forms another big question going on TJ's question. Do you believe that white people can use their white privilege for the betterment of Black people? Because if you see it negatively, if you say, no, she's just going to be white at the end of the day and she's not going to give a shit about Black people's problems. And of course, I could see it as problematic. But if she's going to a HBCU and obviously she wanted to choose it, but see, that's you got to think about everybody will look at it and be like, oh, of course, she loves Black people. She went to HBCU when the fact of the matter may be, she just likes Black guys and she wants to be surrounded by Black men. Is that why she's at HBU? But to see the point that makes me think that she really might be about it, she crossed the line for Alpha Kappa Alpha. And that's the part that makes me say, okay, maybe she's not full of shit. Maybe she does give a damn. She done learn the history. She done went through the same thing that her went through and everything. Maybe. But I do understand where y'all coming from. Because that's the only place we have. People are like, I had one of my white friends on Instagram tell me, he's like, why did HBCUs have to come up? Why do Black people have to still separate themselves? We're still living in our old days. I'm like, bro, and Clemson didn't really let people who look like me come in there a couple years ago. So of course we had to make our own schools in order to do so. And that's why you get to a point where it's like, you can sit there and use the argument against me, but when you apply it to yourself, all of a sudden it's, I don't want to hear it. So to bring it all back around, I think her intent on face value, her going to a HBCU, that would make me question. I would wonder, what are your intentions of going to that HBCU? Do you want to learn about Black people? Do you want to because I truly believe there are some white people that know more Black history, that are more down for the cause than some Black people. Just because you skin folk don't mean you kin folk. So just to that alone, of course, going to a HBCU would definitely make me question her. But the fact that she's willing to get into one of the Divine Nine and go through what she had to go through in order to become a sister, I'm not gonna say I'm convinced, but her case is looking a little bit better.
I would agree with you.
I would like to know more. I'd like to know her family history. I'd like to know her background. I'd like to know what she really is about. Because I know there's people that go to HBCUs. Good old boy, I got me a baseball scholarship, so I'm just gonna go here and get this money from these Black colleges and do my thing. I'm not knocking you. That's what HBCUs do. They recruit a lot of white guys who just want to play baseball. I've talked to a lot of them. I go to North Carolina Central, and they'll tell me, yo, I'm only here to play baseball, and they was throwing the most money at me because I'm white and because I play baseball, and not a lot of Black boys playing baseball. So her case is different. I'd have to know more information on her family background and everything.
So I looked it up. So
Okay.
I gotta correct one thing. So it was Delta Sigma Theta. We got that one wrong. The other one, Delta
Oh,
Sigma.
she a Delta?
She's a Delta.
Oh yeah,
It was Delta?
okay. She
Oh, I thought it was
a that. Yeah, she all right. She right with me. If she a
So
Delta,
you would think she was about her business because like the processes are different to my knowledge. I don't know nothing, but
it's a long process.
she on there on an athletic scholarship. So now if y'all haven't seen the video, y'all got to see the video because like I would agree with you, Malcolm. Maybe she's just there to understand. Maybe she's there to actually use her privilege for some good. Now, but if you watch this video, the way she was talking to this black woman, now she was attacked. Like the original video was wild, disrespectful, but it's like her response is like you had the perfect opportunity to tell us why you was in that space in the first place. And her first instinct was to be petty and dismissive. Like, and it's like, this is what happened when you start letting everybody come to the cookout. They start forgetting why the reason they was there in the first place. So that's where I'm at on that. To the point of white privilege, and can it be used for good? Absolutely. But she failed to do that.
yeah. Then that's I haven't seen that video. I didn't know that.
I didn't see the
Thank you for telling me.
response. Never saw that on TL. But dang, I kind of put a damper on that point right there. Sheesh.
Yeah, she's kind of in the.
She had one opportunity she couldn't.
That one chance.
And you said she was a Delta too? A Delta?
All she had to do was say the right things. Couldn't do it. Well,
that's just speak for itself.
That's very unfortunate.
And
well,
she was
I guess
athletic scholarship?
Baseball. It was softball, whatever. Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah.
Hey, did everything right because one of the people, one of my colleagues, he went in the fraternity, and the process is long, bro. Like you got to study the whole history of the fraternity / sorority. You got to do the line dances. Man, look, it's a lot of stuff. But dang, she folded. That's rough. Well,
she did fold.
Well, since we're talking, she chose to be petty. Well, that leads to my next point. Pestering amongst others. All right. So a lot of people. Well, obviously now, I'm not going to lie. I've seen it where, back to that common goal I was talking about earlier, everybody likes to say, your goal is not better than my goal, so why are we fighting for your goal? I'm sitting here thinking about it like, but if we just all fight for one cause, wouldn't that just, make things better? But, maybe I'm wrong for thinking like that. But, I've seen a lot of times, for the advocacy of Black people, a lot of people will spend bickering over which goal we can go for first instead of just putting their hands down, feet down, and saying, we're going to go for this. Why do we do that? I don't know. Like, for me, at this point, anything is a good thing in most cases. Like, we talking about getting more money towards low-income areas. That's a positive thing. There should be no negatives. It shouldn't be, okay, I don't know why we would fight. Like, people be like, why are we fighting for tax breaks for the 1%? And we got people in low-income areas first. But if you fight for the tax breaks, then the money goes to low-income areas. It's a lot of things you gotta get there. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I'm not a huge politician. I'm not very great in that space. I'm not gonna overspeak on that. But bottom line is, why do people sit here and fight over the minuscule goals when any minuscule goal can help the big or common goal?
And I'm just different. I'm on a different aisle than you on that one, TJ, because I believe if there is a one common goal for all minorities, I would say that there is, our problems are different. Just like a country nigga's problems are different than a nigga who lives in Detroit, a nigga who lives in Richmond, or a nigga who lives in goddamn Compton. So if even if we in the same race and go through different things, our goals are different. Of course, if you on a different racial line, same thing with your boy Joe Biden. First thing, executive order, but with the helping with transgender rights. That was an executive order, first 3 days. And then, of course, the Asian Stop Asian Hate order that he had. I don't know the name of it, but he said, this is a hate crime. This is wrong. The Asians went through 1 year of COVID and an executive order got passed, yet the George Floyd police reform bill is still getting thought about, still a bill.
I got something to bounce back. I watched a video one time just on that point. It was about how like the politicians and like the people in the Senate and the House of Representatives, they were like, one person was talking about how you could never see a black person in a white person's role, but you could see somebody that was closer in skin color, being of the Asian community, could fit in that role. And when he said that, I was like, damn, he might be on,
You know why?
thought of something there. Same thing with the Hispanic community. Like you see sometimes, like in Asian and Hispanic, sometimes they get the vote over a black person. And I'm not trying to turn it into like, a black power argument or anything like that. But it's like they get the nod over it automatically because like what you said about how nobody said something about Asian hate, or nobody said something about when, let's say they had a Hispanic Lives Matter cause or anything. Like nobody says anything, but when people say Black Lives Matter, it's like, whoa,
It's
put a pause on the brakes. So, and somebody made a point about how they can see anybody but a black person taking a spot of a white individual, and I was like, that he might be on to something. And I thought about that.
The God honest truth is, Ira, white people are dwindling. They know this, and especially white men who are right. And I'm not saying all of them are racist, but they know white people are dwindling. Let's establish a racial coalition with Asians, the closest to phenotypically to the white race, because we're dwindling. There's more brown and black motherfuckers coming in this motherfucker. Let's pick the people who, because Asian people, I utilize and love American culture. What is that code word for white American culture? We can still talk about the impacts of hip hop in China, but when it comes to who do you want your daughter to marry, who do you want to be your accountant, we all know what it is. So that's what I'm saying. The racial coalition is coming, and that's all I'm saying. Let's appease the white folks, because we know our population numbers are dwindling. So we need to go ahead and get allies before the Spanish speaking motherfuckers come in and take over. I'm being sarcastic, of course, but I'm just letting you know, this is the forest and the trees, and this is what I predict. I hope I'm wrong, but that's what I mean.
Oh no! I don't think you're wrong at all. Like you made just an exuberant point with the hip hop. Hip hop. We got British rappers, we got Asian rappers, we have hip hop as a fact. That's a prime example right there. Like how everybody wants to be like, we have K-pop. If you don't know what K-pop is literally a derivative from hip hop and R&B and pop music and all of it. So isn't K-pop? We can't get it. It's just, I can go on. I ain't trying to get too much to that though, but just hip hop is a prime example of that. Okay. All right. Nobody has anything else to.
What was it even talking? Y'all got that, John. What was y'all? I want to add in, but I don't know what y'all talking about.
Oh, geez. We was talking about pestering amongst others in the community.
Oh, yeah.
And how racial coalition is existing, being that, we had Asian hate bills and we had advocacy for other minority communities, but, the George Floyd Policing Act, just to get people to stop doing chokeholds, was like a whole, it's been a year. That bill, they've been preaching for that bill for just as long as COVID's been around. That bill is not even touched.
I mean, I think the main problem with that politicians have with that bill, though, is number one, it's taking away qualified immunity, which a lot of politicians probably support, and then number two, it's basically, that bill is basically it's gonna break the justice system as it currently is. Like a lot of the things that happen, in my opinion, a lot of the reasons police end up killing these black people is because in some way, shape, or form, they are racist. Like that's what we all believe, right? And in that, because the politicians themselves, a lot of them are probably racist. They support what is going on with that. They don't want that to end. That's and then like he was saying with how white people know that the black population is growing, and black people are starting to become more powerful, this, that, and the third. They want to start these coalitions with Asian people, this, that, and the third. Asian people don't like black people as much as white people don't like black people. I feel like people don't really understand that. That's in my opinion. The way I see it is Asian people dislike black people just as much. So of course they're going to team up with them, and of course they're going to have, you know, they're going to pass these Stop Asian Hate bills. Also, the Stop Asian Hate bills isn't taking anything away from the white people's agendas. It's just saying like, hey, these hate crimes are wrong. Let's stop them. That's what they should be saying with black people. But a lot of the white politicians dislike black people. It's that's just how it is with me. I just feel like the reason that's not being passed is because this whole system is against us as black people. And
let me jump in real quick, Malcolm, before you go ahead. Now, like I gotta even back it up even more. Like you just said it about the qualified immunity. I'm gonna take it a step further. A lot of these politicians are white supremacists, and it shows in their legislation. So not even just the George Floyd policing bill or legislation that they're pushing. There's an anti-lynching bill that has sat in the Senate for 85 years and has never got a vote.
Oh, 30 years, bro. You know how long that is? That's 3 generations of people.
Once.
That shit crazy.
I won't even entertain it. And that don't say nothing else to me besides white supremacy. So it's like this bill right here, this anti-Asian hate crimes bill, is the first specific piece of legislation since, actually no, yeah, it's the first one that is specifically tailored to a protected group of people. So like the Supreme Court decision that legalized gay marriage and all that, that's a Supreme Court case. We have never had legislation specifically written for one group of people. And that's what they've used to justify why the anti-lynching bill can't be passed. So it's like, they did this, it must be time for us now. Like, y'all can't stop lynching us. Y'all won't. The anti-hate crime Asian bill was passed in a year. Slavery was 300 plus years ago.
Hey, preach, man.
Initial lynching bill was 100 years ago. What's the problem?
Still happening today,
get it done.
To your point about, I'm so glad you said that, Jordan, because it goes along. And the more we speak about this, because you're talking on the political aspects, another reason Joe Biden might have passed that bill to better a relationship with China, or even Asian countries in general. Just to those, I mean, it's all about politics. We sit there and have a better relationship. We virtue signal this executive order. We're taking care of our Asians over here. Let's it's all a PR stuff.
Hong Kong specifically, if we're being honest. They said, look, y'all can come over here. We love Asians over here. Come on over. That's
exactly. And about racial coalitions, I don't know, because I mean, I think it's an interesting point that you brought up too, because it's like, I don't know what it's like for y'all growing up, and I'd like to hear, but as black men are black. I don't know how it is for black women, but I imagine it's the same. We hear Puerto Ricans, they pretty cool. As far as Hispanics go, they kind of fuck with us a little bit. I mean, we can thank Juice for the movie Juice for that, but Puerto Ricans are right. If it goes for Asians, we can look at Filipinos or Filipinas. They're Asian, but they fuck with us, and I think that's how it go. But we look at Mexicans, Argentines, Chinese, Japanese. No. So I think it's funny how it's not really said out in the open. It's just something we learn and keep in our mind when we deal with other people. Or maybe some people don't even look at it, but I think it does. Why are Puerto Ricans our friends? Why are Filipinas our friends? Y'all see where I'm coming from? And maybe because Filipinos are just phenotypically are darker than other Asians. They're closer and have darker skin than other Asians generally. And I don't know what the Puerto Rican thing comes from, but I know for Filipinos, they're darker. They are closer to, they're the black people of Asians is what people say. But I've talked a lot.
Yeah, man, I ain't got nothing for that.
Yeah, it's all pretty obvious. And that leads me to point 2. Why is everybody against Black Lives Matter? Perfect time, perfect point, perfect place.
Because they don't think Black Lives Matter.
There it is. But we gonna dig just a tad, but not too deep, because obviously that's a very broad subject. With Jordan leading it perfectly with how the anti-Asian hate bill was passed in 1 year, and the anti-lynching bill. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that bill's been around since like the 1930s, early 1940s. It's been around for a long time, bro. Like. It's not that long ago. People keep saying it's long. It's not that long ago. I got grandparents 30 years old, man. It's not that long ago. But leads me to why everybody against Black Lives Matter. Number one, this year at the Tokyo Olympics, it is banned that you can wear Black Lives Matter apparel. You can also be permanently banned if you take a kneeling on any anthem. And that's crazy because everybody knows that after the George Floyd incident, there was an uprising across the entire world. We had Paris doing things. We had a lot of countries. I don't know, but I know Paris was one I definitely did see. And I believe Canada did something like that, or Britain as well. I believe those three countries I remember vividly seeing having a response to the George Floyd incident and how the police were never arrested immediately for what was going on. And now it just throws a wrench in things when you get like Tokyo out here banning Black Lives Matter apparel and banning if you're kneeling for an anthem. That is strictly a war on the Black community. And if anybody disagrees with it, you can't put a point why it's not, because what other anthem are people gonna kneel for? People aren't kneeling for any other anthem in the country but the American anthem.
The way I see the whole Olympics thing though is kind of like you know how when players engage in these kind of protests, a lot of the ratings and stuff tend to go down as well. I feel like the Olympics are trying to protect their own ratings, trying to protect their own their money. In my opinion, I feel like it's not really them saying, hey, Black lives don't matter, you can't do that. I feel like it's more of a thing to say we need support from as many people as possible to up these ratings. We already missed a year. We need to make sure this is a good year. So they don't want any reason for people to tune out. That's why I think the main reason is for the Olympics banning Black Lives Matter. But in terms of people in general not, thinking Black Lives Matter is a good thing. I mean, it's just how they feel, and it's just a reflection of what they think about Black people. If you're gonna sit here and say, well, all lives matter in a Black Lives Matter protest, that's basically just saying you don't think Black Lives matter. And you're trying to justify it by saying, oh, I just want everybody to be equal. We're not telling you everybody's unequal. We're saying our lives matter. We're letting you know that we matter among society. For people to try to downplay it, that's just how they feel, and that's really unfortunate because a lot of whenever we bring up Black Lives Matter, this, that, and the third, all they bring up is, oh, you guys rioted, you guys looted, this, that, and the third. But white people did the same thing on, was it January 6th? What was that? When was the insurrection?
Yeah.
They did worse, and nobody says anything. But as soon as somebody says Black Lives Matter, oh, well, you guys rioted and looted, you're a terrorist organization. This and there's like, yo, we just want to live. You feel me? So, but yeah, like I said, with the whole Olympics thing, I feel like that was more of a money stunt. They don't want to lose their bread. But
I'm not gonna put that past you. I believe business oriented goal. You got business oriented things you got to do. But at the same time, I have huge doubts because if there's one thing I believe all Black people know, and it's a time and a place for everything. And I doubt at that time or place they're gonna go to another country and just blow the whole Olympics up when nothing ever even happened there to begin with. But for you to come outrightly to do that, I understand you got business goals. I understand, you got money to make and, you didn't get to do it a year ago, but the Olympics is every 4 years anyway. So it ain't like it's a lot of money being.
It's not, but at the end of the day, a lot of Americans, white Americans specifically, they not really with Black Lives Matter. And like I said, the Olympics wants as many people watching as possible. They know America is a huge part of the Olympics in general. You know what I'm saying? So, and even people across other nations may not agree with what Black Lives Matter stands for, which is basically Black lives. They might be racist on their own. They might not watch because they see, Steph Curry doing a Black Lives Matter, protest, or one of the runners on the track team who just won the event and they kneel down. They don't want to lose the ratings that come with it. You feel me? So I feel like a lot of the whole Olympic thing is, I just think it's about bread. It's a business. You feel me? It's about money, about ratings, this, that, and the third. But yeah, I just feel like it's not. They're just doing it to cover their ass. You feel me?
Let me add something because y'all both right, 100%. And the crazy part is, so the timing was almost too perfect, Ira. They released that as a preemptive notion. I think it came out right before the George Floyd hearing. So they're like, if this decision don't go their way, people are gonna be back in the streets. So let's cover our ass and make sure that if there are athletes here that want to protest, we're not going to let it, because then our rating's going to go down. So it is a numbers thing, but it was also perfect timing. Now, would they rescind it? Because like people might not even have anything to protest come time for the Summer Olympics. So it's like that could have been very well the point, Ira. So it's like another thing, they trying to piss off the least amount of people. Like Black people globally are still a minority, and then even more so in Asia. So it's like if it's white money versus Black money, I'm gonna take the white money. So it's like, if we gotta ban some Black Lives Matter apparel and protests and all that, so be it. It doesn't hurt us that much because the white dollar's still gonna come in. Now, if it was me, now you said it's a time and place for everything, they better be happy I ain't no damn athlete. I've been up there with the damn Black Panther beret on, red, black, and green, throwing Black power at every single event. Don't let me win nothing. Act a damn fool.
That's different though. That's different. That's you making a protest. I'm talking about like them actually like rioting the Olympics.
Oh, rioting.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, they would never do that.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
But that's not the point, though. That's not the point, though. Because the point is, like he said with the whole George Floyd hearing, if it would have went the opposite way and we would have been rioting, then unfortunately, that would have just been more negative looks on the whole movement. And, you know, if the players come out and do that during the Olympics, you know, it's gonna cause an uproar. And they, like he said, they ain't trying to lose the white money. You feel me? So
athletes ain't gonna do that. But we finna act fool. But shit.
Yeah, but I'm just gonna keep it 100 less. This might be a slight nod, but I don't think nobody's gonna outright ban the USA basketball team because they know that's where all their money comes from. So LeBron James, with James Harden, whoever's on that team this year takes a dig. I don't think City Perry's bad.
China half of the NBA's money comes from China. You know that, right? All the jersey sales, all the streaming sales, half of those come from China. That's why nobody in the NBA can speak out on the oppression of Hong Kong. You know that? Mark Cuban got $150,000 for a tweet. So it's like, what do you think? What do you think a protest will happen? China don't care. Nope. All right, we done.
It's not China, though. It's in Japan.
We start our own league. Shit.
It's in Japan, though. It's not China. That's the funny thing.
Japan?
It's
way.
Tokyo.
You know what I'm saying? It's Tokyo?
I guess same difference. Maybe. I don't know. I don't want to go out of turn there. Maybe it is. But at the same time, Malcolm, you got anything you want to add before we move on to the next one?
Or y'all covered it?
Yeah, Tokyo is definitely Japan. That's why I brought it up, because it's in Japan. And I don't know why Tokyo, Japan specifically is banning any of it, because
that don't make no sense then.
It don't affect nothing. Yeah, I got you, China, because I remember Daryl Morey and how China wanted him like out the NBA. Like they wanted him fired for when he said what he said, and LeBron James to be suspended for the whole season after he came out with his comments. So yeah, definitely. If it was in China, I understand why that might be, because NBA has their own business interests, but there are no interests in Japan at all.
Yeah.
And
you might be right on that.
I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. People only watch the Olympics for two things: the USA basketball and then track. But I don't think nobody watches for anything else. I'm just gonna keep it honest.
Nah, I don't think that's true. I feel like here we watch two things, but
yeah,
maybe it's like wait, they don't have soccer in the Olympics though.
They got gymnastics.
They got a whole bunch of stuff in the Olympics that people they got swimming, gymnastics. I mean, the Olympics is broad like that. We see our success in basketball. We like basketball.
Gymnastics.
We like basketball, you know, but at the end of the day, everybody's watching something. So I mean, I wouldn't even say. I want you
to find one person in country, any race that watches water polo, and we'll move on to the next point, please. Water polo, water football.
Shit, England probably watched that.
Bobsledding. Keep it going.
Hey, somebody watching somewhere. Somebody, you know.
Hey, bro. Power to you, those that watch bobsledding and water polo. Power to you. But my next point of why everybody gets Black Lives Matter, Dr. Umar Johnson. I have a love-hate relationship with a lot of things he says, but this point he made was actually a great point, because he was like, and the common theme for most episodes has been how, and he said how there was no opposition to Asian hate at all. Bill was passed, all of that. And it's a recent interview, very recent. And he said, soon as Black Lives Matter, again, we're back at this point once again, how All Lives Matter comes out. It's no, all stop all hate. It's not that. It's a protest to a protest, and and he went on to say that it may be a fear of retribution, and it may be, I don't know. Everybody has their own agenda at the end of the day, so I can't speak for an entire community. I don't know what their plans would be if we ever were to be in a position of power, but not get onto it. But it's not much I can really say on it because we kind of been talking about it repetitively. So anybody, anything add they want to have further to that?
Or you, Mal?
Okay, so Black Lives, I think we are in a super fucking precarious position in the country because what you said, I think Umar touched on it. Black people were brought to this country and we don't know how to build our own institutions because we've been economically castrated. I think that's the word that he uses. And what does that mean? We can still have a black salon, a black barbershop. Hell, I mean, we could form a basketball league. But as far as the nuts, the bolts, black. Killer Mike actually did an episode on this, on his show Trigger Warning, where he was like, okay, your business is black, but where are you wholesaling your products from? Where are you getting where are you getting your product from? And after it went outside the shop or the barber shop, the salon, it was white. So we said we're a he said, Dr. Umar Johnson said it on that. He says it all the time. We're a $2 trillion people. But basically, at the end of the day, we're capitalists with no capital, because guess what? When a black person makes it, then that's what it all comes from. We forget about it. We get we're the only group of people in his mind. We taste a little bit of money. We forget we forget about it all. Now we can sit here and use examples and talk about, LeBron giving back to Akron, Oprah Winfrey's work in Africa and whatnot. But for the majority, we talk about these household names who have made millions and millions of dollars, but we're just talking about maybe a black doctor from Farmville who went to Philadelphia to work. And he's like, shit, I'm out of Farmville. Why the fuck I need to go back there? You see what I mean?
That's disgraceful.
Exactly.
I hope nobody from Farmville does that. We are a very powerful community. I would like people to return to Farmville because it's a very potential area, but I'm not gonna get too much on that at all. I forgot what I was about to say, and that's unfortunate. But wait, let me see if it comes now. It's not gonna come back to me. That sucks. I think I was gonna go on a point where, that's what I was gonna say. Why we're economically castrated, because if you look over the times of history, every time there has been any sort of black wealth in anywhere in America, it has always been met with powerful resistance. And a lot of lives have been lost. Obviously, prominent in most minds, the 1921 Tulsa Massacre. For those that don't know, Black Wall Street, Greenwood District, everybody knows about how it was one of the most profitable black areas in full racist times. 1921, fresh out of Reconstruction, Jim Crow was at its peak, and we had a whole community in southern the United States where racism was prominent, and a slave state in Oklahoma. And they burned it all down. A lot of people say 300 lives were lost. It was reported 75, but most people say 300 to over 1,000 lives were lost in that riot. And for those that other prominent examples, Central Park was a prominent black community, and they built a whole park over it. So that's another thing. And then obviously, I saw recently Lake Lanier. Lake Lanier was a popular spot in Atlanta, Georgia, and that was paved over. They built a lake over a city.
Rosewood in Florida too, by the way.
Exactly. A lot of areas. So I feel like and I said this in my solo live a couple of months ago, like, it's hard to fight, or it's hard to have your own thing or fight for bigger causes when you're dealt with in such inhumane ways. Like, you're telling me you get your own black wealth and all of this, and then dang, your whole area is just paved over, parks and lakes, and build a lake over a whole community. It's I didn't even know that was possible. But just such inhumane ways. It's bad, man. It's rough. So that's why I feel like we're economically castrated, and it's just hard to do a lot of things. And we can get on the medical industry, how they did Billie Holiday and, you know, all the strategic killings of Fred Hampton and Malcolm X, all those great things. Of like, when you speak or you try to mind your business, try to, you know, do your own thing, it's always dealt with such inhumane or coups or a lot of things that go on to prevent you from minding your business. But nonetheless, that leads me to my third point of the thing. So as you know, we talked about the intersectionality, how it can be good and then how it can be bad in both lights. And the whole topic is about segmentation of minorities. But I wanted to present an idea to those how it may be a good idea, or it may be like, nah, we don't even need that. I think we got what we got is good. I thought about a Minorities Lives Matter kind of thing. Now, you know, that may be bad, that may be good, because we did make good points how, you know, how Asian people might hate Black people just as much as white people hate Black people. So it could be bad. Then again, you don't hear the Hispanic community coming out with the same hate for Black people. Some that's based on my experiences. I would put that out there. Based on my experience, I have not seen anything like that from the Hispanic community. I haven't seen anything like that. And I also got in like a TikTok argument with somebody about, okay, when I was talking about Black Lives Matter, things about the George Floyd case and how a guy was lying in the middle of the thing and how they was validating the method of, okay, what about the Hispanic community and things like that. So I just wanted to ask y'all, like, if there was a Minority Lives Matter, I don't know the correct word, not protest, I don't want to use that, but funding, I guess I could say. Would you support it? Why? Why not?
Hell no, because everybody would benefit except for us. Because minority, we're talking about, even we could talk racial groups, and then we talk people with disabilities, people with different sexual orientations, and out of all of those groups, we would be the bottom of the fucking barrel. It sounds good in theory, but history. I mean, we all are products of history, especially our people's history. So it's a beautiful idea. It's a utopian idea that in actuality would be a very good idea, but rubber to the road, bro, we would not benefit, or we would benefit the least. And every other group, racial, sexual orientation, whatever disability, whatever religious group you affiliate yourself with, would benefit before us. And imagine if we had other stuff with the intersectionality connected to us. Imagine being Black, gay, Muslim, poor, and disabled. Fuck. Like, you know what I'm saying?
It could go in that way, and I understand it is a utopian idea because everything will have to be virtually perfect for it to work. But you know, when it comes to people in my friend group, I'm quick to understand the mindset, and I would believe for that to happen, you have to have people with that mindset that they actually want to help and not just want to say, I did something with somebody, keep pushing, like, or I'm just doing it for me and I'm keeping it pushing. Like, they actually got others in mind. And, you know, when I was thinking about it, I was like, you know, if you was to conduct a thorough interview process of these individuals and things like that, maybe, just maybe it could work, you know. Hopefully they're not fabricating in the interview, but, you know, that could also be false. There's a lot of fallacies that could fall into it, as with any broad and brand new idea, but I just wanted to present it. Jordan, PJ, y'all got anything y'all want to fill?
Yeah, I add on to that. So y'all both right once again. No answer there. But specifically for Malcolm's point, we already, like, in the chain, the power structure of minorities in America, we already dead last. And that's just from the history of this nation. Like, we was free labor, well, we was goods, then we was free labor, and then we was oppressed, and then we continue to be oppressed by all these other systems in America. Like, when you was talking about the economic castration, like, the geographic space of this country does that enough. So to the point of, would I support a Minority Lives Matter funding or policy in place? Like, if it's specific, no, actually no. I would support it if we got our own first, because like we're long overdue. You know what I'm saying? Like, and historically speaking on this, like, all the policies that have been put in place for minorities in this country, it's a backhanded way of trying to do something for Black people. We get the trickle down, you know what I'm saying? It's like, so it's like, So if you think about like what this administration particularly is doing right now with President Biden's administration, so the low income housing for first time buyers, the what else is he doing? Student loan forgiveness. All these things benefit all minorities, but it's a backhanded way of saying, here, I'm doing this for Black people. I've been the Black people's president. You know what I'm saying? But it's not specific for us. You know what it is? Reparations. So give us reparations first, then I'll support everything for minorities. But it's like, y'all got to undo what's wrong first before you can start doing for everybody else. That's just in my book as a Black man. That's the right thing to do. That's justice.
Yeah, that makes sense. I understand. And I believe if a policy or funding of that was to arise, you'd have to have the agenda because it is a minorities' lives matter thing. So the agenda would have to be set on, okay, who needs it first? Where are we going with this?
Intersectionality too.
And that's the thing. That's the prominent thing. I would feel that would have to go right. Like you have to set the proper agenda. Like, okay, obviously Black people you always get a trickle down effect, you always get overlooked. Like we'd have to be forefront. And I'm not just saying that because I am Black. It's just if you look at politics, TV, or anything for that matter, you should obviously know that Black people at the bottom of the totem pole. And then you'd have to go into other areas. Okay, who's next? Who's this? Who's that? And the third, immigration policy. So, the Hispanic community get a fair chance and things like that. So things could be as of what they once were when it came, because immigration policy, I saw something about that too. It's actually fairly recent. Immigration policy really came a problem in like 2009, 8, fairly recent, very, very recently. Because if you think about it, people have been immigrating from all over the place for God knows when. So like for it to just be coming arising recently, that's a problem in itself, because I want anybody to go look for a prime example between before 2000 where anybody was talking about anything about a Hispanic immigration policy, and I bet you wouldn't find nothing in the history books at all. So go ahead and look that up because it's not there. But yeah, agenda would definitely have to be a priority. You'd have to like sit there and like, okay, we got to help the right people first. We don't want to just say, we just want to give a trickle down effect for all. That's not really good.
Food for thought real quick. If we were all Mexican and you would have said the minority lives matter, do you think we would say the same thing? We would say, yeah, we would agree with it in theory.
No,
but since we're not getting anything from it, y'all don't think that?
I wouldn't. That's a hard point to speak on, because
I don't think
you have to change the thought, because if we were in the Hispanic community, we wouldn't be facing the things in America. For one, obviously, we wouldn't be facing the things that we are facing as Black people. Well, I like to use the term Hispanic community because that's the the appropriate way to really address, because it's not just.
I was specifically talking about Mexico. I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm just specifically talking about the greatest population of Spanish speakers in this country.
I wouldn't know, because that's a broad question, because it's like you have to think about how ours life be different if he was born and raised in Mexico, how it changed.
But do you think that they think the same thing that we think? You see what I'm saying? Like, do you think?
Like I'm saying, like at the end of the day, they don't go through the same things that we go through. If you're a Mexican, like it don't even matter like what you are. You're Mexican. You're from Honduras, El Salvador. Y'all all go through different struggles, so you're gonna want what you want regardless. So I don't think anybody will really be into this whole minority lives matter movement, because what are we asking for? Like what do we all ask for as a collective? Like you said, who gets what first? And at the end of the day, Black people have been long overdue since we even came to this country on ships and were put in slavery for 300 years. Then the next few years we're not enslaved no more, but they still killing us legally. And then it just keeps going with every system that's put in place. We're still being oppressed now. So at the end of the day, why are we gonna put our values on the back burner, what we want on the back burner for something else that these people haven't even been suffering as long as we've been suffering since we've been here? And we were blind. We didn't even want to be over here. So at the end of the day, you gonna bring us over here and then still treat us like we don't like we came over here on our own and we just ask us. No, I'm saying, like, at the end of the day, we should not have to put our movement on the back burner to get more support from everybody else, this, that, and the third. Because I feel like that's that's where that would come from. We need to come together. Nah, we want what we want. At the end of the day, you can give everybody else what they want, but you still can't find a way to give Black people what we want. At the end of the day, we're not gonna go away from this movement to supply another movement. So I don't think like even if I'm a Latino male, or there's a Latina female, this and the third, they're not gonna want to put their values on the back burner for nobody else. They're gonna want what they want first. So at the end of the day, I don't think a Minority Lives Matter movement would even work, because you can't really specify, who gets what. What are we pushing for? Because ain't nobody. I promise you, Latinos are not gonna apply the pressure like we are for what we want. So at the end of the day, like, what's the point of even, what's the point of even doing something like that? You know what I'm saying?
Now I gotta jump in real quick, because that's facts for one, and then big facts.
True. Yeah.
And then it's like, what people need to realize though, when it comes to minorities, everything that has benefited minorities in this country came from Black people first. Think about gay rights and LGBTQ rights. The first pioneers in that movement were Black people. So it's like, if we get our reparations first, if y'all do right by Black people first, it will inherently benefit all the other minorities. I'm surprised they ain't did shit for us yet, because like, if you shut us up, shit, fuck, we don't got nothing to bother y'all about. Give us some land, undo everything that y'all did wrong, fix these
40 acres of a mule.
And it's like, niggas will shut up. I promise you. Look, on record, give us fucking reparations, I'll shut my Black ass up. Look, you want to hear a word from me.
Bro, even relating that to the Policing Act. Even relating that to the Policing Act. If you pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, it won't just affect Black people. It'll affect everyone. If you've ever been killed from police brutality, whether it was racially driven, if you're Hispanic, if you're Asian, it's going to affect you too, because they're going to get in trouble for the stuff that they did to you as well. That's why I don't understand why, at the end of the day, minorities aren't pushing harder for what we want, because what we want helps everybody. It's not just Black people, but we say it's for Black people because Black people have been going through it for the longest time.
We were the first people they had to oppress. So the systems that fuck everybody else up, when you fix them systems that are fucking us up, it unfucks everybody else up. So it's
exactly. So that's another reason I don't understand why, we would even have to have Minority Lives Matter movement. Just pass the stuff that we're trying to push, because what we're trying to push does not just help us. If you're an Asian person, if you're a Hispanic person in poverty, you're in Section 8, you're in the projects, and you're trying to get something to help with the projects, help with low income, it'll help you too, because you're in that situation, you're in that community. It will help you as well. You know what I'm saying? So I don't understand why there's so much pushback for everything that we try to pass. It doesn't make no sense to me, and that's because of the system. The politicians do not want minorities to be empowered. They know it will help everybody, but they don't want it to help everybody because it's not helping them. So that's just how it is, bro.
That's the messenger, man. Shit.
Hey,
I couldn't agree more. Honestly, that perfectly makes sense. So that's the whole reason I had thought about it, because I was like, what if everybody for once just came to a common ordeal and said, all right, we gonna help, we gonna fight for everything, bro. Because like when you fight, I just feel like when, let's say, if we are at war and we are fighting 20 other fights instead of taking out the army general, what are we doing? It's such little progress versus if we attack the general head on. Oh yeah, they down bad. No retreat, no nothing. It's all do or die at that point. So that's the real reason it came to my mind, because I thought about it when I was stitching that TikTok. It came to me right there. I was like, what if, obviously you don't want to put your ethnicity's stuff on the back burner. I hope nobody really do that, because a very comparable thing to the Minorities Lives Matter in my mind, I just thought of it recently, is the United Nations. That's a very comparable organization to that, being that they have a slew of individuals, but they got specialists for each and everything, okay? They got a hunger specialist, they got financial specialists, they have all sorts of things. And obviously, like I said, like Malcolm said earlier, that's a utopian organization. You'd have to pray for a lot of things to go right. You have to hope your specialists abide by the code and all sorts of things for that matter. So, it could work. Then again, it couldn't work. It could be like the actual Black Lives Matter Foundation, the people that actually get the money for it and just don't use it properly, or they use it for their own personal benefit. And that's not the goal. Cause like, personally, I wouldn't say cause like United Nations, you don't need money. I don't know if the United Nations effectively uses money to fight for the issues. I don't, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, but I've never, ever heard the United Nations using actual dollars or currency, being that they're united. So obviously the currency is blending and all that stuff. That may be the reason, but I've never. They would use what? Say it again for me.
Uses diplomacy mainly because it's a coalition of countries. So it's like, if you use your partners and your allies to your benefit, you get shit done. So it's like UN works with the IC to swing the hammer whenever there's a wrongdoing, the international court. So it's like there's a genocide, bam. All right, now you gotta pay out. So like when it came to Rwanda specifically, or when it came to post World War II Germany, or when it came to they ain't said shit about the Armenian genocide, but they're starting to do some work on there. But it's like you use your partnerships to get shit done. The UN in a vacuum, if we had something like that in the United States that could go against the government, would be perfect for minorities. But it's like there's a reason why we don't participate in the international courts, because we don't want to be held accountable. Not we, but the United States government. So it's like, if you don't participate, they can't say shit to you. That's their plan.
Yeah, it's been shown when you go against the government, especially in the U.S., it does not go well at all. I think nobody has ever won that battle.
Nope.
But no, that's the whole thing. Like, what if a Minorities Lives Matter could be like United Nations? No money involved. No money. It's all about making partnerships, networking.
Now, I think
networking.
So looking back, Ira, something like that did try to happen. Fred Hampton's Rainbow Coalition. And you see what happened. It was too powerful. Ira, they went for the general and assassinated that man before it could get the team.
Yep, and again I say, when you ever try to fight the U.S. government, you can't tell me one individual that's ever been successful. None, not one. We can obviously, most of the instances that we have are of Black people, but those have been most of the people that have actually, have tried it, and they haven't been sparing it. They did it to other people as well. If people remember very vividly, when JFK passed that Civil Rights Act, he didn't last much longer. They killed him quickly, very, very fast. But
hey bro, I'm gonna say something, a popular opinion. I think the best thing that happened for the civil rights movement was his assassination. That can be a topic for another day, but let's keep that in our mind.
Okay.
The best thing that happened for the civil rights movement was the assassination of John F. Kennedy, but that's a topic for another day.
Okay, we might have to revisit that in another episode or something.
That could be a live video. It can be we can make it whatever, but yeah.
Yeah, I have to think about that. But nonetheless, that's kind of all. We sat here, we talked it out, we tried to break it down. It's basically the whole conversation is intersectionality good or bad? Where is it needed? How can it be effective? All of it. If you think it's good, let us know. If you think it's bad, let us know why. Where is it effective? Where is it ineffective? How can intersectionality be used for good at the same time while helping others succeed? It's a lot of open-ended avenues, if you will, to the conversation, to the questions. Very open conversation, if you think. It's not a closed argument. So if you got anything, please present it, because we would definitely be interested in hearing that. Nonetheless, this is episode 26. Let's see where we at. 27, 5 left. We got 5 left. 5 episodes left, guys. Season 2 is winding on down. We keep going strong. We keep bringing the topics. Next week, very popular topic for all my people: financial literacy. One of the most important things in life itself. Knowing how to balance your checkbooks and knowing how to properly allocate your money to wherever you need it. I got my cousin, a finance major, we got episodes, so definitely stay tuned for that. That is definitely coming out, and I think that'll be a really good episode because everybody wants to know how to actually be perfectly financially literate, and better yet, for all my Black people and community out there, generational wealth. So we definitely hit on that. Definitely stay tuned for that. But other words, I believe that's all I have because season 2, I got stuff for season 3, but we'll keep that on wraps right now. We'll keep that on wraps. Stay tuned. Maybe the last episode, maybe second before last, we'll come out with it. But in the meantime, it's going to be on the wraps right now. But that's all I got. I'd like to appreciate Jordan for rejoining us, previous guest episode 2, social justice. If you have not seen that, parts A, B, and C. Yes, we have came a long way from that. It's out on YouTube. We've came a long way. But that's all I got for y'all. Appreciate everybody for chiming in, having a great conversation. It wasn't the smoothest of things. We had a lot of breakups, but nonetheless, we delivered as we always do. So thank y'all for watching another episode. If you're not gonna like this, and as always, it's your host Ira signing off. PJ at the bottom. Malcolm, you're new. You got to sign off for us. So there it is, the deuces. I like it.
Yeah, I got it.
There you go. You got it down pat. That's what I like to see. But that's all I got for y'all today. This is your host, Ira, signing off. And as always, see y'all soon. What's up, everybody? That concludes today's episode. Join us next time when we release another one. As always, we continue releasing episodes Friday at 12 on a bi-weekly basis. Give us a follow on our pages, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. All the ad names are right there on the screen. As always, this is your host, Ira, signing off. And see y'all soon.